I got my first taste of the economy of grace in the grocery store as a kid. In those days when I would tag along with my mom or my dad for our weekly grocery shopping run. And occasionally the supermarket that we would go to would have free sample day, right? The way every so often you'll hear people talking about going to the big box like the Sam's Club or the Whole Foods, and they'll have samples of things, or at least in non-pandemic times that happen. I can remember being amazed at the idea that you would go to a grocery store where you pay for food, right? You're buying your vegetables and your canned soup and your macaroni and cheese and your syrup for the week's groceries. And here they're handing out little bite-sized morsels of food for free. I was always excited about this. And at some point, it occurred to me that there's a reason, there's a rationale from the grocery store's standpoint, that they want you to get to try new foods and to think, well, people might not take the risk of buying this or committing to a whole box of whatever if they have never tasted it before, so we'll offer them a free sample. And when they see what it tastes like, when they realize that it's good, then they will want to pay money and buy it. And we've got then that much more goodwill built up with our customers. They'll come back here again and again because they got free samples here. I get it. It's a marketing technique. If you're the grocery store operator, you think you can get people to buy stuff beyond their staples, to get things that weren't on their grocery list that they can try a bite of and then go, this is good. I want some of this. I'm going to imagine having this for my family later on. Yeah, you're going to get people to spend more money than they had anticipated. But there's also something really powerful about the idea of getting a taste of something and the risk that the store takes, the risk that the grocery folks take, and saying, well, here's an example of what we have to offer. Here it is free. We think it's so good. It's so compellingly good. We want to give you a taste of what it's like because we're convinced you'll want to have more and that you'll keep coming back here. I think something like that happens when Jesus steps onto the scene of human history. That Jesus, who is this sort of unknown quantity, who appears defying everybody's expectations, wants people to have a sense of here's what it is that I'm about. I keep talking about the kingdom of God, the reign of God, the Yahweh administration, if you like. I keep talking about this new reality that God is bringing, and maybe everybody's wondering, well, what exactly is that like? So Jesus gives out free samples. Jesus sends out his followers. And Jesus goes himself vulnerably, without strings, without conditions, without payment, and without demanding something in return, but simply bringing good into the world as a free gift. Because we need to know, what's this Jesus like? What's he all about? And do we want to be a part of what he's up to, maybe? So there's this scene in the 6th chapter of Mark's Gospel. After having done miracles and wonders, raising a little girl to life, calming a storm, casting out evil spirits, Jesus goes back to his hometown, presumably Nazareth. He goes back to his hometown and goes to teach in the synagogue the way respectable religious leaders and rabbis would do. And he's astounded by people's response to him, because they sort of question and because they wonder, hey, we grew up with this guy. Where does he get the nerve of coming back and being this big shot? Where did he learn all this stuff? We remember when he graduated from school with the rest of us. And Jesus goes vulnerably. Not mad, not upset, not vindictive, not bitter, not going to brag about what a big important person he's become. He just goes and offers, here's what I have to share with you. And taking the risk that some will want to be a part of what he's up to and some will not. And then Jesus gets his disciples together and sends them out to do more of the same. To say, well, I'm going to be going to towns and in the places I'm going to be going, I want you to go ahead, and it's like it's free sample day. You give a taste of what it's like where God's reign shows up. There's no bait and switch. There's no promise of something that turns out not to be good. This isn't like, when you go to hear the timeshare sales pitch at some vacation location where they tease you with it'll be wonderful, and then there's a not so good sales pitch you have to sit through. Jesus simply sends his disciples with no strings, go and be the presence of God for somebody else. Show people what it's like where God's reign happens. So go vulnerably. Don't take a bunch of stuff or equipment. Just go with yourselves in your hands and help people. Where people are sick, speak in the name and with the authority that I give you and let people be healed. Speak against the powers of evil and the spirits that are unclean in the world and watch them scatter. Go and do the things you've seen me do as like this foretaste, as this appetizer, as this free sample of what it's like where the reign of God shows up. And there's no strings, there's no catch. Jesus doesn't send his disciples saying, all right, give everybody a free taste, and then once they've taken the bait, then sign them up and they have to be a part of our club. Jesus is so convinced that what he has to offer in the reign of God, what he has to offer through his followers is so compellingly good that just the offer of it for free will change people. They will want to be a part of what Jesus is about. It's not about Jesus then getting more numbers to boost his demographics or his quarterly report of how many people are following him. It's not about demanding that then they give him money. It's once you've experienced the amazing kind of life that happens where Jesus is Lord, where Jesus' power is there, where Jesus' love is at work, you want to be a part of it more and more and more. And Jesus sends his followers out to be an embodiment of the way he shows up, so vulnerably as well. Jesus tells his followers, you go out, don't take any weapons with you, don't take any money, just go and trust that God will provide for your needs. And also go and give freely. When somebody offers you welcome, receive it. Whatever they put in front of you, eat what they're going to eat at the table. Share their common life. And then do good as a free gift. Just do good. Bring healing and bring relief from the powers of evil. And honor them and the gifts they have to offer when they show you hospitality and do their best and bake you a pie. Receive that with gratitude and with thanks and share what they offer you as well. Honor those folks that you were sent to as well with love and with care. And people will want to be a part of that. There's no sales pitch. There's no, here's a free thing, but now we've hooked you, and so now you owe us money. There's no, it was a free 30-day trial, but then it turns out we charged you when we didn't tell you we were going to start charging you. And it doesn't come with the intimidation factor. When, say, the Roman Empire came to a new place, they announced their arrival by conquering people. Your first taste of what it was like to experience the empire was soldiers coming to your town and saying, we're taking this, we're taking you, we're conquering you, you belong to us, and by the way, we're taking your possessions and your wealth, and you get the privilege of having us overlords over you. Jesus doesn't operate that like that. He doesn't send soldiers in. He doesn't send in people to conquer. He doesn't send an enormous wave of stormtroopers with shock and awe to intimidate people. He sends people vulnerably like himself. Jesus runs the risk of being rejected, even in his own hometown. And he sends his followers out with that same vulnerability. Our way of being in the world as the followers of Jesus is to take the risk that we will offer the reckless, free, beautiful, blessed grace of God. Some people will say, that's wonderful, I want to be a part of it. And some people will say, that looks like what losers would do. I don't want to be a part of that. And we take the risk of being rejected, of having other people say, no, that sounds too good to be true. No, I don't want that. We're still sent out to embody good for other people, for all people, for free. And so all that we are sent with is just what we need to help heal and care and love other people. Jesus tells his disciples, don't go out bringing the equipment or the accessories you think you'll need for yourself. Don't take extra money or a change of clothes. Just take the shoes on your feet and the trust that God will provide. But they're sent to anoint people with oil, to bring healing. I mean, that's basically the scope of medicine in that day. When there are folks who got open cuts, you go be the one who applies first aid. You be the one who offers comfort. When there are people who are hurting, you be the ones who offer comfort and healing to them. When there are people who are plagued by the troubling presence of evil spirits, of the presence of evil, you speak against it, and with my authority, they'll run. But they're not sent out with other equipment for themselves. It makes me think, for you and for me, what are we sent out into the world to? If we dare to imagine Jesus is sending us from a conversation on a screen like this, from our gatherings on Sunday mornings out into the world, what does he send us with? It's not our job to wow people. It's not our job to promise people, hey, you should sign up for the Jesus Club because then watch as you'll get wealth and power and influence and your kids will get on the honor roll. We're not sent to make those kind of promises. We're not called to give away stuff as a way of bribing people. We're sent to be present and to offer love and healing and maybe comfort. So maybe if there's anything we're sent with, it's a pack of tissues. We'll be the ones sent out vulnerably to find folks whose hearts are broken and to say, I'll sit here in the sorrow with you and I'll offer to wipe your tears or to offer you a tissue when you're the one whose heart is broken. I'll be there through that difficult time and let there be healing. We're called to be people who speak up against the presence and the power of evil around the world, whether it's evil that is beyond our ability to describe, like the demonic spirits in Jesus' stories, or maybe the more obvious presence of evil like racism or greed or poverty. We're called to be a voice of resistance against that, not violence, but to speak out against evil and to say, we'll go through all that with other folks who are suffering with it as well. We get to be the embodiment, you could say, of God's economy of grace, giving free samples of what it's like where God reigns. The vulnerability is part of the gift. Because Jesus' way of showing up in people's lives is not coercive, it's not to force people. It's not Jesus marches in his armies and says, you got to do what I say, I'm the Lord around here, get in line. But Jesus offers himself and takes the risk because that's how love works. Love takes the risk of being vulnerable. And so if we're going to be people who represent Jesus to the world, our way of doing that is going to have the same kind of vulnerability to the world around us as well. That's going to be true of our one-on-one, face-to-face interactions with other people. But even how do people get a sense of what Jesus is like from what they hear from us in the workplace, or what they see from us in our social media, or what things we share or like or forward on our timelines on social media, from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram to whatever? A lot of folks get the impression that we think Jesus is a terrible jerk from what they see in us. What if we model the same kind of vulnerability that Jesus models? That here's what I have to say. I'm not going to be mean or vindictive or spiteful. Here's what I have to say. Take it or leave it. But I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not here to force you. I'm here to offer. Only the offer. Always the offer, the free gift, and the risk to love and to risk rejection in that love. That's our presence in the world. If our approach and the way we present ourselves in the world is that we are so insecure we have to lash out or be mean or be forceful or coercive or assume that that's what Jesus is all about, people are going to get the sense that that's the way Jesus loves, and it just isn't. You and I are sent out to be the embodiment of God's economy of grace, to be the living, walking, free sample day of God, and to do it in a way that isn't about maybe we'll get more people to come join our church necessarily. It's not about what do we get out of it, but more how do we just simply embody the good news of God's love? How do we embody what it looks like where God sets people to free and brings people to life? And where that happens, people are going to want to be a part of it. However that turns out, whether that's people who come more to our church events or not isn't exactly the point. We're going to trust God's going to draw people who want to be a part of what God's up to. That's God's work to do. Ours is simply to be the embodiment of here's what it looks like where God's love shows up. So maybe you and I are sent out into the world, nothing but free tissues, to offer folks whose hearts are broken and to say, here's not just a tissue, but my promise to be present with you where your heart is breaking, to weep with those who weep, like the scriptures say. That's our presence in the world, so that people at the very least will have known we've brought to them the face of Christ is a face that loves vulnerably, beautifully, and persistently. Sisters and brothers, be that right now for the folks around you. And if you want to be a part of that conversation and what it looks like to live our lives that way, join us on Sunday. If this lights a fire under your feet, if you feel like, yeah, I want to be a part of that kind of love that recklessly goes out and shares with everybody, good. Come, join us on Sunday. Get equipped. Get your own box of tissues to share with somebody else. Seriously, we're giving that to everybody. And then be sent out to embody that love, to be the living embodiment of God's economy of grace. See you Sunday.